Okay, ready? I'm gonna let them in. All right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're just gonna wait a few more minutes before we start. But yeah, thank you so much for getting here early. Okay, hello everybody. We're gonna get started now. Thank you so much for coming. So yeah, first of all, good evening and welcome to COUHR's How to Get a Research Position event. My name is Apple and I'm the VP of Events for COUHR this year. And I'll be one of your MCs tonight. Ashley will be the other event. Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, of course. My name is Ashley, and I am the Director of Logistics for COUHR this year, and also I will also be one of the MCs for this event.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we have a very exciting night planned where you will hear from student speakers as well as a guest professor speaker regarding their research experience, how they got the research positions, different research programs, as well as like any advice that they have. There will also be tips and advice for research resumes and CVs, cold email templates, and interview tips towards the end. So we're really happy that you could all join us tonight. Ashley, can you change the slide, please? Yeah, so just a little bit about us before, as we get started here. So COUHR, which stands for the Canadian Organization of Undergraduate Health Research, is an organization whose mission is to provide underrepresented undergraduate students with the opportunity to participate in health and medical research. So at COUHR, we aim to provide research opportunities, which is like their summer research program, scientific infographics, which takes the form of our monthly publications called the Insight, which you can find on our social platforms, as well as networking opportunities through the events that we host throughout the year. And COUHR also has many branches across Canada, and we are the London branch, which is just one of them. Next slide, please.
So I'll give you guys a little bit of an overview of what will be happening today. So first, we'll be hearing from our student speakers. We have 4 excellent speakers here to share their thoughts with us. We'll first go through some frequently asked questions before opening up the floor to any questions that you guys may have. And these questions that you guys have, you can just ask them in this Zoom chat. And then we'll be hearing from our keynote speaker, Dr. Constas. And then again, you guys can also ask questions in the Zoom chat. And then following that, we'll be breaking out into breakout rooms. So there's 3 topics for our breakout rooms, and they will be happening simultaneously. And through the breakout rooms, you guys can just join each breakout room and hop around, essentially. Yep.
Great. So student speakers, for the first part of the event, we will get to hear from some student speakers. So today we're joined by Winnie Liu, David Wu, Sheena Yi, and Jessie Song. So each speaker will introduce themselves and then talk a little bit more about their research placements and the research experience that they have. So first off, we have Winnie.
Hi everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Apple. So my name is Winnie and I am in 3rd year medical sciences, and my honors specialization is physiology. So on the slide, it shows like my last research experiences. To go in more detail about some of them, so I've done both wet lab and virtual research. So the virtual I would classify as working on literature reviews, paper publishing, and my wet lab experience, which is typically what most students have interest in, would be the last point here under Shaw Lab, where I did my NSERC the past summer in the biochemistry department. So further throughout the presentation today, if you have any questions regarding what it involved, the process of NSERC application, what the wet lab research really was, I'm happy to get into more detail. And in terms of contact, that is my email, but on Facebook, you can find me just as easily, and you can always shoot me a message and I will reply ASAP.
Okay, thank you so much, Winnie. Next up, we have David.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Wu. I'm a 3rd year student at Western in medical science in the module for microbiology and immunology. In terms of my past research experience, I've mostly focused more towards wet lab. I do have some dry lab experience. For 2 years during high school, I worked at the Koropatnik lab, where I studied how different cranberry flavonoid components could be utilized to better improve the efficacy of cancer chemotherapy combinations. And with my research there, I've participated twice in the Canada-wide Science Fair, winning bronze and silver medals. And I had one of my projects published in the Canadian Science Fair Journal. I'm currently part of the Whitehead Lab, where we're focusing more on sort of waste clearance and neuroinflammation in the brain. And I'm currently in that lab. While working in the lab, I'm also working on 2 first author review papers as well. Tying into COUHR's mission to tackle underrepresentation in student research, while I haven't personally experienced or observed any sort of underrepresentation or discrimination, I have heard of some of the struggles. I guess one of the interesting things to always bring to mind is sort of the struggles that principal investigators themselves are also facing with underrepresentation as they sort of worry about having sort of like an unbalanced lab. And whenever they're hiring students, it's also important to remember that these PIs are not only looking for who are like sort of the strongest, most like research focused candidates, but they also have to wonder how effectively will this person integrate into the environment that's already present in the lab there and the other people already working there.
Okay, thank you so much, David, for your impressive research experiences and also for touching on the aspect of underrepresentation. Next, we have Sheena.
Hi guys, I'm Sheena. I'm also a third-year medical sciences student with an honors specialization in microbiology and immunology. Just to touch on my past research experience, since first year, I worked for the Human Environment Analysis Lab, so also known as HEAL, and I've done both in-person and virtual work with them for the last like 2.5 years. I started off as a work study student, but then I managed to get an USRI award to continue my research. And this last summer, I basically examined all the different kinds of health policies that existed around children's health and physical activity. And I presented my research to the Ontario's Ministry of Transportation and of Health, which was a really, really cool experience. And we're currently still looking into the policy scans and looking at areas of improvement on how we can better examine children's health and further their experiences. And then since I'm also in microbiology and immunology for my honors specialization, starting this year, so just a few months ago, I also started working at COUHR Lab as a volunteer student. It says work study, which we'll go into later, but I'm actually a volunteer student there, but the role doesn't really change much. So right now I'm currently helping the lab genotype different kinds of mice and examining the transcription factors present in acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
All right, thank you so much, Sheena. Sounds very, very interesting. Thank you for touching those topics. And then next we have Jessie.
Hey everyone, my name is Jessie and I'm currently a 4th-year medical science student doing an honors double major in pathology and pharmacology. Well, I'm currently on internship, so kind of like between 3rd and 4th year, but officially I'm 4th year. So my research experience has been a little bit away from wet lab. I'm very experienced in like literature reviews and like dry lab research. So I'll be touching on like 2 main experiences that I'm familiar with. So first one is I applied not to Western research programs in my first year because I live in the GTA and I just was really interested in looking for positions that were in the Discovery District, which has like a lot of nice research facilities and hospitals. So I applied to a program called Ims Scrp, and this is like affiliated with U of T, but anybody can apply from any university. A lot of the positions are also virtual, systematic reviews, so you could definitely consider applying there if you want to kind of expand your horizons beyond just Western. So for me in particular, I was a research student for a PI from UHN's Toronto Rehabilitation Institute. And in this role, I've been lucky enough to have been given the opportunity to be like the lead author of several manuscripts. Over this past summer, I was doing a paper scoping review as lead author. I've done cohort studies as lead author, and I have a published scoping review from my first year. So it's definitely been amazing opportunities there. So my work again is all literature review based, which is really nice because I get to work virtually. Like right now I can work virtually. And the other nice thing is that it gives me a lot of freedom to kind of design my own thinking and structure the papers around like what I think needs to be discussed. So a lot of my research is surrounding rehabilitation practices and how to best optimize the care system within hospitals. For example, I did a paper where I gave recommendations about what needs to be improved in giving care to people with conditions such as EDS or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And then I'll just make an official recommendation. I work with a lot of clinicians and experts to kind of discuss what needs to be recommended to other researchers or to clinics. So that's like the fun part of doing kind of dry lab research, is that you get to kind of design your own paper and recommendations that may be useful to other people. And so the other experience I want to talk about is science internship at Western, which is another way you can get research experience in wet or dry lab. Personally, the position that I'm currently in for science internship isn't really academic research based, but for sure there are a lot of opportunities that are posted both within like the biotech industry. You can do a lot of research in that area. You could also do some at academic. I know there was a position at Sick Kids Hospital where you would kind of deal with like participant recruitment. You could also do some wet lab experiments. You could deal with a variety of different lab experience. Personally, again, like that's not what I'm currently doing, but if anybody wants to reach out to me afterwards, I could definitely recommend or give you some more information about that, or recommend somebody who I know is like doing something more wet lab based. But yeah, those are the two experiences that I have.
Well, thank you so much for your amazing introductions to all our student speakers. So now we're going to dive into the frequently asked questions. So we prepared around 5 that we found were to be really present in the RSVP forms. So we're going to just go straight into the first one. So can you guys elaborate a little bit more about your research program? And we'll start with NSERC, which is Winnie.
Yeah, sure. So the NSERC is if you did a quick Google search, you'd find out that it's a federal grant. And basically how it works is the government will allocate money for all the universities, and the university can decide how to then delegate that funding in each of their departments. So there is like the Eng department that you can apply for NSERCs in. You can go through, I think, like the general biology. Those you would typically be working with like, I think like live, like biological specimen. And then I applied through the Schulich medicine and dentistry faculty. So I don't know what the exact number of applicants they get are, but basically in terms of the application process, it includes sending your official transcript. So you need to email, I think her name is Sarah, I forgot her full name, but it's all on the Schulich website. When you go under research opportunities and you look for NSERC, the entire process of application is there, but the general guideline is you upload your official transcript. You also have to fill out a supplementary application, which is 1 page, single-spaced. You detail your past experiences in research, any conferences you've been at, any papers published, and your extracurriculars. You want to fit that all on 1 page, so you want to make sure that you're being as concise as possible. Also, you need to apply through the actual NSERC portal, which is like under like the government of Canada. You and your PI, so principal investigator, that professor that you're going to be working with, will have to both fill out their respective parts of that application through the official NSERC portal online. So those 3 components will all go in. And I'm pretty sure they got back. So the application happens in January. They get back to you, I want to say around like March, April-ish, and then they'll let you know what the results are. And in terms of what you do in the NSERC, so I was interested in any kind of wet lab research, to be honest, and I gravitated towards biochemistry because it contains a lot of transferable lab skills, whether that's just like good solid pipetting skills, being able to make buffers, reading data, troubleshooting, protein purification, anything hands-on. I knew that biochemistry could give me a lot of that rapid exposure. And my project was determined as I was filling out the application with the professor. So we talked about what I was going to do, what the exact project guidelines were, and when you first get there, they don't just throw you in, you ease in slowly, and typically you have a graduate student, so it could be a master's, a PhD student who is helping you during that first couple of days, and you'll be going in with them. They'll show you how to do basic experiments, what to do, what to consider, and you have to take really good notes, or else you're just going to forget everything and you're going to be asking them a bunch of questions, which is probably not the most effective way of learning on the spot. And in terms of hours, so it is like a full-time job. It is considered employment. So because of COVID, I didn't go in every single day because you can't have everybody in the lab. But for the most part, I went in at least like 5 out of 7 days just because I was able to get in a lot of time. So it'd be like 9 to 3, 9 to 5, or sometimes depending on the experiment I would run, it would be like 1 p.m. to 7. So they were quite long hours, but when you're in there, you'd realize that some of the experiments have a lot of waiting time. Like you'd put in like cells to grow and they would incubate for a couple hours, or you would be making a couple buffers and it'd take a while for them to make properly, or you dialyze proteins. So all of that will take time in between. So you could definitely bring in any other work if you're doing during the summer. I also studied for the MCAT, so that's what I did. I would bring my MCAT in, study, run experiments, go home. That was sort of the dynamic that you could definitely work out when doing an NSERC. I don't know. If anyone has any questions, you can ask them. That was just like a quick, brief outline of what NSERC is.
Thank you so much, Winnie. And before we move on, I just want to mention that there is a chance to win a raffle, a chance to enter a raffle to win one of 3 Amazon gift cards that are valued at $25 each at the end if you fill out our feedback form. So now we'll move on to David, who did DUROP.
All right, so to talk about DUROP operates quite similarly to NSERC. So DUROP stands for Dean's Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program. It is a 16-week sort of summer program like NSERC. It's considered sort of like full-time employment in a lab. The ways it differs is that it's not a federal grant. I believe it's Western-based. So there are differences in the amount of funding provided, who provides the funding, and as well as the due dates for the applications and when you know who won the awards. And be aware that you cannot accept both DUROP and NSERC at the same time. They're mutually exclusive sort of programs. I believe the due dates may make it possible so that you can apply for NSERC, then apply for DUROP if you don't get it, but you should check the due dates for that. As well, be aware that not all labs have both NSERC or DUROP. Many labs might have only one or the other. And be aware that many people are applying it, and labs generally don't put all their eggs in one basket, so to speak. Generally, separate students are put forward for NSERC and DUROP. The important part about these sort of summer programs like NSERC and DUROP is to find your potential supervisor early, because applying for these awards, your possible PI needs to be confident in the type of person you are and confident that you will take responsibility over the summer for your work. And for DUROP, and I believe NSERC as well, you'll need to submit sort of like a detailed project plan about what exactly you're researching, what your roles will be, what sort of skills you'll be learning over your employment period. So it's important to contact and try to look for potential supervisors early. That way you'll make it in time for the applications for either award. While my experience was sort of stunted at the start of the summer during DUROP because of COVID, it was hard to get into the lab because of restrictions, and obviously graduate students like PhDs were about to finish their projects had higher priority on sort of lab space. So I did a lot of sort of virtual work in the first half of the summer, but once the lab was opening up and I had time to go in, I spent quite a bit of time in the summer in the lab as I worked on other stuff alongside it. Similar to Winnie's advice, it's good to obviously take notes, and it's very important to sort of show initiative, be excited to sort of learn all the basic skills. That way you can sort of like develop your skills as your sort of 16 weeks goes on, and you'll generally gain more and more skills and become more and more fluent with your skills until the people in the lab feel confident letting you do work by yourself. I always think it's a good idea to, at the start, don't try to like impose, I'd say, be like, can I do this? Can I do that? But rather just sort of like first few days of the lab, probably just like try to talk to people, get to know all the people in your lab. And if you can, ask them like, what are you doing? Can I watch you do it? And take notes as you can, sort of shadow the people around the lab. That way you're showing initiative and you're also gaining valuable information. Many of the students in the lab are more than happy to sort of help you learn different things. And while reading sort of like protocols online can be helpful for learning procedures beforehand, many of the graduate students, they're experienced in the lab, they have their own like special tricks to maybe make this thing work better or make this procedure go faster. And that way you can get a lot of specialized information on the experiments you're conducting as well.
Thank you so much, David. So now we'll move on to our work study student, which is Sheena.
Hi guys, so I'll keep it pretty quick with work study. And I also did something called the Undergraduate Student Research Internship, which is also USRI. So both of these programs are specifically Western based. For work study, it is provided on a financial need basis. So it's kind of like a bursary that the school will give you, and it can run from September to April. So that's like fall winter work study that you can apply for. And then separately around the end of April, you can apply for work study from May to the end of August, which is the summer work study. You basically get assigned around 2,000 working hours, and the university is going to pay you as long as you work under 2,000 hours. And you basically find your PI first, and then they'll make a posting to hire you through Western Connect. Which is kind of like a portal where different kinds of jobs get posted that involve students. And there's really no major deadline to the overall application process. You can just apply whenever you want once you find a PI who is willing to take you. And I know sometimes research labs do put postings on work study if they're really in need of people, but I think it's typically better if you reach out to PIs yourself, because I know labs, like, they can get competitive to get into. So if they do make a posting, probably a lot of people have seen it and they have applied. Something else I did was USRI, which is the Undergraduate Student Research Internship Program. And this is basically kind of like DROP or NSERC, but it's just specifically Western run. And it's paid full-time research grant of around $8,000 over the summer. And information about it can be found on Western's website. I can send the link in the chat below when we move on to the next person. And basically this summer I worked at HEAL, and yeah, it was a really, really great experience, but I know we're short on time. So I'll just summarize that it was overall a great experience, and I highly recommend that everyone go check out work study and USRI if you can.
Thank you so much, Sheena, for sharing your experience. And now we'll move on to Jessie.
Okay, so I'll again touch on it briefly as well. So the first experience I talked about was the Ims Scrp, which is Summer Undergraduate Research Program, and this is affiliated with University of Toronto. So for this, like everything else, you would contact supervisors first, and then like once you get it, and this would usually be around November or December-ish because apps are due in February, you would be sending in your CV or resume as well as like a transcript. So this is just like contact people, and all the PIs are people who are affiliated with U of T or the Discovery District, so like Toronto Rehab, Princess Margaret Hospital, those kinds of places. And in the program, you also have like a research day where you have to do a poster presentation on your research, and this is like a summer program. So yeah, for this, it's that's pretty much all that there is for this particular program. In terms of science internship, this would be something you sign up for at the beginning of your third year of university. And again, science internship, if I didn't mention before, is like a Western affiliated program. So for this, you would be applying in September of your third year, and the application is like very simple. You just literally send in your email, and then if you have an over 70 average, they'll basically let you in. And then you do a series of workshops throughout the year. And then like once you hit like January, February, job postings start coming out and you can start applying for research positions. I would say that half the positions are related to biotech and pharma, which also have like lab experience positions. But if you're looking for something more academic, this may not be there may not be as many opportunities in this realm, but there are definitely some. Like I remember there were some at Sick Kids and some at different hospitals, so you can definitely take a look. And this would again be done throughout third year and then summer of third year, and then like you would start working in your fourth year. And something to note about the science internship is that it is like a full year program. So essentially you would be taking kind of like a work like internship hiatus. So you wouldn't be doing your fourth year. You kind of like do an extra year. So that's something to keep in mind if this is something that you're looking into. I would say that there's no harm in applying because like you just send in your email and then you can like look at it. And if you decide not to apply to jobs, that's totally fine. You can just drop out before you accept a position. So it's definitely something to look into.
Okay, thank you so much for everyone for elaborating on your research programs. Ashley, if you don't mind clicking the next slide. All right, thank you. So the next question we have is, how did you get your research positions? And I think we'll just ask David this one. David, would you mind taking this one on?
Sure. So my experience was, I guess, sort of a bit unconventional. In addition to obviously being part of medical science, I'm also part of Scholars Electives, which is a sort of like academic enrichment program. So we're required to participate in a research project in second year. So my DROP was more of sort of like a natural extension of my work during second year for the summer. So I found my research position. I had to get one by the start of second year. So I started searching for a PI close to like the end of first year. My experience was a bit like weird, I'd say, because I was also when COVID was hitting. So it was a bit unconventional. It was hard to just like meet up with PIs directly to interview them. But since I already had a good idea of my interests and my emailing was kept pretty focused, I was able to meet with several people, and I established a good relationship with Dr. Whitehead. And eventually that helped me get into my research position at the Vulnerable Brain Lab.
Thank you so much for your answer, David. So now we'll move on to our next question. Where did you start looking for research? And we'll direct this one at Winnie.
Sorry. Yeah. So in terms of where I started looking, you can always start off at it's like the Schulich faculty page. And then I would go through each department and then I would just start looking for people's research that I was interested in. You could go through like the phys department, the biochem department, epi department, microim. There's so many, and you can just read their papers if you're interested in what they do, send them an email, and that's kind of, I think, the most appropriate point in terms of where you should start looking for research. And if you're interested in something outside of the scope of like medical sciences and you want to do biology, you can always then go look at like the biology department specifically. What they do would be different. So you can always go and email the people underneath the faculty of biology.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for answering that one. So the next question we have is, when is the ideal time to start looking for research positions? And for this one, Sheena, would you mind answering?
Yep. So I think the best time to look for research positions in the summertime would probably be around March, end of March to end of April, because that's when labs are kind of wrapping things up with their students and starting to figure out what's going to happen during the summer. I would refrain from emailing too early. I mean, it's never too bad to email early, but you'll most likely get a few no's or a few unsures because PIs aren't even sure about who's going to be staying for the summertime. So the best time is definitely around late March to early April. Just get your name out there, email them. And then if they respond in that they're not sure or the lab is full, then you can just keep their name aside and just make note of that. But I'm sure there's also going to be lots of PIs who will know that they have an open spot during the summer and they would be down to take a few new students. In terms of September, if you do want a research position during the school year and not during the summer months, a good time to start emailing would be around, I'd say it would be like 2 rounds. So it would be probably start emailing around July to see what kind of PIs are out there and what they're expecting for during the school year. And then most likely they'll get back to you. If they do get back to you, they'll mostly say that, oh, I'm unsure, and to contact them again in early August when they are sure. So then now that they know you and then they know that you are interested, then you guys can send out like a second round of emails during August, usually mid-August, and then the PI will usually know from there on who they're willing to take and how many spots are available.
Thank you so much for your answer, Sheena. And we'll move on to the next question. So how long did it take you to find a research position? And we'll direct this one at Jessie.
Okay, so for me personally, for IMS SURP, it probably took me a couple of months. I remember starting in November, just cold emailing a bunch of potential supervisors, talking about their projects. And then I think I heard back from people just scattered throughout the months, but I didn't get anything definitive. So I was probably not until almost March that I actually got interview offers for different people. So it definitely took a bit of time. Just drilling out emails. I probably emailed over 100 different supervisors, and then following up emails and stuff like that. So it probably took at least 4 or 5 months. And then in terms of the science internship, you can start applying for jobs starting in January. That would start in May of that year or September of that year. So I basically just applied as soon as things opened that were interesting, so probably around March or so. And then because I was looking for jobs starting in August or September, and then I just kept applying for different jobs as the months went on. So the last job I applied to is in August. And the thing about internship is that jobs just roll out at different times, so that you might have a posting every single week, a different posting. So you just keep applying to whatever looks interesting. So overall, both probably took me a couple months. I don't know if this is true for the other types of research programs, but you should expect at least 1 or 2 months for anything of just searching.
All right, thank you. And then the last frequently asked question we have is just if, David, if you have any advice for any of the students here who are looking to get into research, particularly those that do not have a lot of research experience already.
Sure thing. So particularly for people who are maybe new to research, looking to get some experience on their belt, the most important thing is, maybe you've already heard of it, but just persistence. Be ready to keep emailing and keep emailing. I know of people who've sent hundreds of emails to PIs looking for research positions. And while just emailing over and over again is good, it's also important to try to maintain your passion. Don't let your frustration of getting rejection emails and no responses bleed into your subsequent emails. Particularly, don't let it bleed into your interviews when you're meeting with PIs. Try to stay passionate and interested in every email and every sort of interview you participate in to sort of maximize your chances. As well, to help with that, be very certain that the labs you're applying to are something you can imagine sort of working in for the longer term. It'll help you sort of maintain interest, make you more passionate during your interviews and your emails. And as well, labs are more reluctant to take up students that don't look like they're going to stick around for a long time. If your goal is just to get a research position over the summer or something, most labs will probably not consider you, because training takes a lot of time. They have to devote resources and time to sort of getting you up to speed, getting you experienced with the lab, integrating you into the lab environment. So whenever you're sort of looking for research positions, be ready to sort of stick there for the long run.
All right, hello everyone. Yeah, so thank you. That was the end of the frequently asked questions section. We are going to have a Q&A section. However, we're going to move it towards the end in the breakout rooms. So hold on to your questions and you'll definitely get a chance to ask them just in a little bit instead. And with that, Ashley, would you like to introduce our keynote speaker?
Of course, I would be honored to. So today we have Dr. Constas joining us. She is a professor in the chemistry department, and as a woman in STEM, she has previously experienced underrepresentation. And something unconventional that she does is she does mathematical modeling in chemistry. And this is something that makes her very unique, as many professors and other researchers do not do this in chemistry. So she will give a little bit more of a background about her own research and give you guys some advice. And then afterwards, we'll be able to ask her any questions you may have. So I'm going to stop screen sharing right now, and I'm going to give Dr. Constas the floor.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I will share my screen right now. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen so I can maximize it now?
Hope we can see your
We
screen.
are able to.
Looks okay? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for the kind invitation and the kind introduction. I want to say that I'm always excited and I always find it very rewarding to talk and contribute to the education of the students, because no matter what, you are our future. We cannot forget that. Okay, so today in this short time, I will present highlights of my research. I will touch upon some challenges in the career path, and finally, I will transfer you my experience for how to get involved in research at an early stage. I realize that some of you have already talked about it, and I'm really surprised with the level of detail that has been discussed, and also a lot of the information that you transferred is absolutely accurate. I will say a bit more about different opportunities, so that's what my contribution is going to be. So what do I do? I'm a physical chemist, which means that I use physical theories to study chemical problems. All my studies are done using computers. That's why the little cartoon is there. And the studies involve my mathematical modeling of chemical problems. The systems that I'm studying are atmospheric and man-made aerosols. All these have applications in environmental chemistry. I study droplet chemistry that has applications in microfluidics and nanofluidics, and biological molecules in solution, which also related to biochemistry, biology, and chemistry itself. Just to give you a picture of what I do, here is a big wave that shows all these droplets coming out of it, and in these droplets there is a lot of chemistry going on, and that's what I study. And here I have a small movie from something that we have found in the lab. So we have found by computational methods how to create what we call the star-shaped droplets. And this is a small movie that shows how we think of assembly of these systems to make some new materials. So I want to talk a little bit about my career path. My undergraduate studies were in traditional experimental chemistry with some amount of physical chemistry and less amount of actual theory and mathematics into it, similar to the program we have in chemistry in our university. I followed an unusual career path because I was interested in doing mathematical modeling in science, and this was my motivation to get involved in this direction. The mathematical aspects, I want to say, were faced with a lot of skepticism by many members of the faculty. That has not been easy. And moreover, it was still difficult, and it is still difficult for many to understand what a theoretical chemist is doing. For me, it's not so difficult to understand. I just can give you an example. For instance, positrons, which are electrons in simple language, electrons with positive charge. These positrons were discovered, first of all, in theory back in 1928 by Dirac, and it took several years to be observed. So theory can provide guidance for what an experimentalist is going to look for. That's a striking example. The star shapes that I showed you earlier is something that we found in computations, and now we try to realize them in the experiments. So it's not something exotic that the theorists are doing that we cannot understand. We can, but a lot of people are facing mathematics and theory within chemistry a bit as an unusual subject, that it doesn't fit into chemistry actually. So in that sense, my career path has been very unconventional because I am in a traditionally experimental field and I'm doing something very theoretical. Challenges that I have faced, besides the fact that I'm a theoretical chemist, and this was a challenge from the beginning, other challenges that are well known in science, I'm not the one to discover them, is a lot of times there is underrepresentation of female scientists. This is a problem that, especially in Canada, has been well perceived, and there has been a lot of effort to overcome this problem. And I think, at least in the last decade, the Canadian universities, at least, do very well in attracting female scientists in physical sciences. I cannot say that my career path was easy. It was difficult. There was a lot of times frustration, disappointment. There were also successes. It was not only sad, it was also very happy. I got money, I got grants. I could have some very good students in my lab. I'm really very proud for the students I have. They have followed excellent careers. Some of them, actually the 50% of the undergraduate students that I had in my lab for research went into the medical school. The other 50% went into graduate schools, and they've done wonderful things. So I'm very proud of them. So I had disappointments, but I also had rewards, and that's excellent. And now, in the time of disappointments, what has helped me? First of all, I think it's a matter of personality. Different people face difficulties in different ways. Hopefully, or I believe that my personality helped me. So every time I was optimistic, I was thinking, okay, that's a difficulty, but I can overcome it. So being optimistic has helped me. Passion for learning and curiosity in science. Actually, I have a lot of it. I have a lot of curiosity in science that goes beyond chemistry, beyond what I do in my research. So maybe you will not believe that, but I still attend courses in mathematics. I go in the classes and I listen to the lectures and I read separately. So I really like to learn about all these mathematical theories that are going beyond me, but still it's an area that I want to explore. So this follows me now, not only in the research, but also in a personal level, try to learn more. And also what strengthened me a lot of times are examples of life, of situations, characters of people, integrity that they have shown. And I have drawn these examples from family examples, going back to my ancestors, from classics. I had the opportunity to learn and study a lot of classics and literature. So this has been great support for me. Now I come to you. So this is a little bit of my history. So I want to say a few things about you because we already heard these questions. How do I get involved in research? And I think that it's excellent that you have an organization that helps you in this direction. So we have already heard about NSERC opportunities, USRAs, and all this, and I'm completely in agreement with all those, and you should take opportunities that are appearing via these fellowships. I'm not sure if you are aware, at Western, we have the Western Science Learning and Academic Mentoring Program that can help you to start. So it can help the first year, second year students and more senior students to start if they have not started already. So this is an excellent place to start your networking. You heard that already about the summer fellowships from NSERC, the USRAs, and what I would ask you to do, if you are interested in, contact your department. Every department has a scholarship, a faculty member who is dealing with scholarships, in particular in the department. So this person will be the appropriate person to inform you, or the undergraduate secretary, which has the information about the various scholarships. As we already heard, you should find a supervisor. But this is not always necessary. Sometimes what we do as supervisors is giving projects for USRAs. So the person who is in charge, the faculty member who is in charge of the scholarships, collect all these projects that we give to them. And then the students also appear and they see the projects. So the matching between student and supervisor can take place at a later stage. It doesn't have to be right from the beginning that you know your supervisor and you arrange to have a project with them. This is one path, and that's the I would say the most common one and the stronger path. But also later, when you see all the projects that the supervisors have submitted, you can always say, okay, I like this project, I will talk to the supervisor. So both ways will work. Being proactive, as David said, and contact the supervisor before the submission of projects is always better, because you can design a project that both the student and the supervisor is interested in. Besides the summer fellowships from NSERC, there are also fellowships for students that are funded by the university that have the same, almost the same value as the NSERC scholarships. And again, you have to be proactive. Undergraduate secretaries and the chairs of the scholarships in the departments know about those. And what we do, we circulate announcements about the scholarships, that these scholarships are appear. It's the time to find supervisors. So we get information, but being proactive is always better. So communicate with the secretary in undergraduate secretary, and they will direct you to the right person. Some departments have research-based courses. These are excellent. For instance, this year I supervised 2 students from biochemistry. I'm from chemistry, but I'm also cross-appointed in biochemistry. And I supervised 2 undergraduate students 3rd year in research, in a research-based course. So this course is based entirely on research. So we give to the students a project and they start doing it, and we guide them. They write a report at the end, they present it. So the way they are trained in this course is very much like an actual researcher is trained, and is an excellent opportunity because for instance, I see that now with my students. They prepare an abstract, they give it to me, I correct it thoroughly, we have discussions. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? After that, how to prepare figures, how to do the research. So it's an excellent experience. If you have an opportunity to take a research-based course in your department, because everybody is different, that's a great opportunity to start from. Now, we already heard about a summer work study programs and internships. These are other opportunities for research, although I would say internship is in a way training to a certain aspect of chemistry or another discipline. I'm not sure. There are internships where there is a research component into them, but not all internships contain this research component. In an internship, for instance, you may be trained to collect data, or you may be trained to use an instrument. So it doesn't have to be always research oriented. I want to give you some tips here that research is great, but to do the research, you require the knowledge. And this holds not only for the students, but for the faculty as well. We all need knowledge, and that's why I keep studying regardless of the age. So attend departmental seminars and guest lectures at the university. That's a great opportunity to be exposed to what is done outside in the world, and you go beyond to what you learn in the classroom and what is done in the department. We have some excellent named lectures every year in different departments: biochemistry, physics, all the departments, former applied mathematics, all the departments have some very distinct lectures. They are not many. Unfortunately, there are only 1 or 2 a year, and they bring excellent scientists and speakers from all over the world, and you hear amazing things. Take this opportunity. You may be from biochemistry, but go to the lectures of physics. I do that. I go to biochemistry and physics lectures because I think that they are fantastic. And also departmental seminars. Every seminar has speakers every year, quite a few of them, one per week. And these speakers are coming from all disciplines. They are open to everybody. Everybody can go. So why not attending them if you have the time? I think you should have the time, because normally we put them in times that do not overlap with coursework. So this gives you the opportunity to see what happens everywhere in the world, and moreover gives you the opportunity to ask questions the speaker and learn something more. It gives you the opportunity to learn how to present the material. That's also great training. Also, learn as much as you can from your courses. It's extremely important. The courses are there for you. Interact with the other students, with your peers, with your instructor, and learn, because research requires also the background learning. Students who have a high knowledge in courses and do very well in courses are more likely to hire in an undergraduate research position. So look after your background and make sure you have good foundations to do the research. And the last but not least, extremely critical, and we heard a lot from David about that, discuss with the instructor if you are interested in their research. Ask them if they have any position. Don't be shy to ask some more information about what they do in the research, and ask them. Maybe they will not have a research position in one term, they will have a research position in the next. This happens to me as well all the times. I always take undergraduate students in my lab, and then one term it's full. After that, they finish, they move. I have a room to put somebody else. So David described that very nicely, and you really have to look into these opportunities. And I'm here to answer your questions. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Constas, for that presentation. That was very valuable and extremely insightful. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them and leave them in the Zoom chat. I believe we have one question already. So the question is, what is the most valued skill that researchers value in undergraduate applicants?
Okay, actually, excellent question, because before I returned home, I had a discussion with a student, undergraduate student, who came in my office hours for thermodynamics, a second year course, and we had a discussion on that. I was really impressed by this student. She was very thorough in what she was doing, and her questions are excellent. And to be honest, she told me, oh, you do a lot of math-related science, and I don't really know if I have any background for what you do in your research. I was looking actually at your research, but I was so intimidated about that, because yes, I know a little bit of math from first year. I did not do that great. And I did not even consider your lab because of what you do. And I told her that from the way that you pose the questions, the way you that I see you keep notes and you try to understand everything, I can tell you that it's excellent. You are an excellent fit for my lab. So that's my personal view. So I judge the student by what they do. Excuse me. Yeah, so I judge by student by the performance of the student, because grades is one part, but there are other parts in their performance. So I would never hesitate to take a student with almost zero knowledge in what in the mathematics, as long as the student is willing to try and learn and is motivated and is as thorough as the student I met today. So to make the answer short, what I value more is how the student thinks and how thorough the student is in what they do. I think that other faculty members, everybody's different. Other faculty members maybe want to see the top grades. We don't have all of us the same criteria, because in a way we're somehow independent in what we do in our lab. So I have my own criteria. Another person from maybe experiments will have some different criteria. So what I value more is how I see the student performing, how the student thinks, and how thorough the student is in what they do, and the motivation for learning and the effort that they put to learn. These are my criteria. I think I'm not very far from the criteria of other faculty members. These are points that everybody appreciates. A lot of times we go beyond the grades. We say, okay, these grades are excellent, but we really need to know the student, because grades is one part of the entire performance. We want to see what the student is how the student thinks and how the student understands a problem. That's a very strong indication for how the student is going to do. I see there are some other questions here. I'm not sure if I have access to chat. I'm not, I see the participants list. Okay, so I'm not sure if I have the chat here, to be honest.
Yeah, Dr. Constas, no worries. I can read the next question to you.
Yes.
Yeah, so another question we have is, what are some red flags that PIs look at in cold emails? And then what can we do to seem more genuine and enthusiastic in those cold emails?
Okay, that's a good, excellent question, because I also receive a lot of emails, and some of them are very cold, as you said. And what makes them cold is that a lot of times the student sends a very general email, and we can sense that. Everybody can sense that. So it's the same email that goes to many supervisors, and then some of them are going to respond. One way, of course, and this is the right way to do it, is to look into what each supervisor is doing. So you need to read about their research, you need to read about their articles, and you want to put some thought on whether you are really interested in what this particular researcher is doing. So to remove this red flag from there is to write a personal email where you show that you know about the research of this particular faculty member, and you have an interest in this research for a specific reason. Maybe you like it, maybe you think of your career path. So to make it personal, to make the link between you and what the professor is doing. And also another point is to say why you think that you will be a good fit for this research. So why you think that you will be able to handle the research in this particular group. So make it personal. I have received emails, exactly as you said, where it is obvious that this is a general email, that it is sent to any faculty members, and the only thing that changes is the name. So there is no specific information about that. Yes, I know about your research. I've read this and this article. I'm interested in this direction. I want to bring this problem forward. I feel that there is a potential in this direction, and I'm interested in that because your reasons why you are interested in that. So that's what I can say.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. And I think we'll wrap up the Q&A there. But yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Constas, for taking the time today to come and speak about your experiences, and as well as like the advice that you have for students who are looking to find a research position. You've been extremely helpful, and the points that you talked about have been very, very valuable. So again, a really big thank you to you and for coming out.
Yeah, I thank you for inviting me. As I said, it's always rewarding to meet all these young people, and I know that you all try the best for your career path and for learning. And again, if you need anything from me, if you have any questions or something that I can help with, I will be happy to contribute in that. Okay.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Thank you very much too, and I wish you have a very nice continuation of the meeting. Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, and yeah, so that was Dr. Constas's section. So moving on, we're just going to share some research programs that are offered at Western. This list by no means has every single one of them, but it might have some that you might not have heard of before. And yeah, there's lots of other research programs that are available from other organizations and institutions, but these are just a few from Western. And so, as you can see, there's NSERC, DURUP, and Work Study, which we've already talked about by our lovely student speakers. So I won't go into too much detail about those. There's also the Physics and Astronomy Summer Research Fellowship. And yeah, that's offered through the Department of Physics and Astronomy. And their deadline is usually in March. Similarly, the Bone and Joint Institute also offers a 14-week summer research studentship where you can participate in musculoskeletal research. And then also the Diversity and Neuroscience Summer Internship is offered by BrainScan, also here at Western, and it has a deadline, I believe, in April. And yeah, and finally, us at COUHR, we're working towards providing research opportunities and programs. So be sure to, keep up to date with us by following our social medias so you can be the first to hear when those come out. But yeah, that was a really brief run through of some research programs. And again, there are definitely a lot more out there. So yeah, be sure to do your research. Okay, yeah. And then, yeah, so we're now at the end of the presentation part of our event, and we would love to know what everybody thought of our event, if it was helpful, if you have any suggestions for events in the future, and also to be entered for the chance to win the 3 Amazon gift cards. We would also ask you to fill out this form. And I believe it's been sent in the chat. Yep. Yeah, and so thank you everybody in advance for your thoughts and opinions. Sorry about that, I'm gonna mute that. And yeah, so that brings us to the end of our How to Get a Research Position event. Breakout rooms will be opening very shortly, so please feel free to stay and jump in between those rooms to learn a little bit more about how to write a research CV, cold email templates, and interview tips. And as well as if you have any questions for the student speakers, feel free to ask those in those rooms as well. And these will end at 8:30, so you're welcome to leave and go as you please. And just quickly before those, a huge thank you goes out to all of our speakers for giving your time to share really thoughtful and insightful stories about your research experiences. And we also like to do a huge shout out to the rest of the core team for working tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event possible. And of course, thank you to everyone who came out tonight. We hope that it has been informative. Please make sure to follow us on our social medias. Facebook and Instagram are on the slide. And yeah, to stay tuned with COUHR. And we look forward to seeing you again at our upcoming events.
So please let us know if you have any issues with joining the breakout rooms. We can just assign you to the breakout room you want to go to.
All right, I will be in the resume room.
Let me know if there's a specific room in mind. Happy to transfer you there. Yeah, for sure, David, I can do that. One second. Is there anybody else I can help out here?